Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show how I grind my fillet knives. This is my kind of standard 7-inch blade fillet knife. I make them in 9 inches, 7 inches, and I'm probably going to do some smaller 5-inch ones here in the future, but I just switched over to doing them all in stainless steel. This is it's called 14C28N stainless. I have these all professionally heat treated to around 60 Rockwell, and then they're also cryogenically treated too. So as far as edge retention and stuff like that, these are incredible. The part that I kind of wanted to explain a little bit is showing how to get the proper flex and kind of creating what you want with the flex, because you can make them as stiff or flexible as you want. I clean a lot of fish and I use these for walleye, panfish. I even use them for salmon. Sometimes they're a little small for that, but and I like a real medium flex, even actually towards the stiffer end. But the whole key to creating the proper flex with these is, for me, and this is just how I do it. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are better at it than me, but it's called a distal taper. And what that means is, as you grind this, and I do full flat grinds on it, it's how much meat you're actually taking off the spine of the knife as you grind it. So basically, like with most hunting knives or even kitchen knives, I do a little taper on them, but like hunting knives, you basically leave that almost full thickness. I do, at least. This stays almost full thickness until you get to the tip where that plunge meets, and then it tapers down. With these, you're actually tapering it, maybe from here all the way towards the point as you're grinding it. So I'm not sure if that made any sense at all, but I'm going to jump right into it and show you guys. Basically, I'm starting with a 36 grit ceramic Red Label Abrasives belt. These guys right here, best in the business. And I do probably 90% of my grinding with a 36 grit belt. What this one already has a satin finish on these flats. So as you can see, I've taped it up, and then I use my plunge guide, and you put that little tape on it so it doesn't scratch it up. Put my plunge guide on there, and that just keeps it to where I have a good starting point. I'm freehand grinding them, but this thing just gives you a good indicator on where to stop, and it helps me a lot. So anyways, I think that covers what I'm going to try to do. I'll try to show kind of my steps, but the main thing is get that 36 grit and start that distal taper. And I run the edges of these, I run really thin to like to about 10 thousandths or something like that. Maybe even a little thinner than that, but we'll see what happens with this one. So let me check back in, and I'll show you guys where I get to with the 36 grit, and then how I progress from there to a full flat grind to finish this thing off. So, all right, guys. Okay, I just kind of started, but this is a good little spot to show you. So I basically cut one side in almost to my center line. Not quite to it, but my main thing is get that to my center line, really close to it, before I start bringing this up. And you can see it's not even at all right now. It doesn't need to be, but I bring this up right here and over, and you can see, like right here, it's already transitioning to where it's to the top of the knife, okay? So basically what you want to do is bring this up and over, and slowly, like, bring it all the way up here and slowly taper this down to the point, okay? And that's what's going to get you your flex. And you can start by maybe bringing it to here, okay? And start like tapering it, starting in the middle, start tapering it here. But wherever you're bringing that up and start your taper at is going to make it to where your flex gets more and more and more kind of the further back and thinner you take it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's at least how I kind of do it. And it almost hits this little like point where you really have to slow down and figure out what flex you want, because every pass you make when you take it up and down all the way, the flex gets a lot more almost every pass, you can tell. So that's one little tip, is just slow down once you get to where you're cut all the way up, and bringing it down to the point, just slow down, check your flex, make sure it's where you want it before you take any more off that top of the knife, I guess. And always just make sure you're not getting too far on your edge as well as you're grinding. So, okay, I'm gonna finish this 36 grit grind up now that I explained that a little bit, and show you where it's at when I'm done with that. So 36 grit's done. As you can see, I've got it, you can't really tell. But basically you can see right there, I've got it almost up to flat right here, and then it tapers down and cuts in about right there, okay? My edge is almost to final thickness already. Not quite, I mean, there's enough meat on there still to get those scratches out. But here's where the flex is at right now, at 36, okay? It's still pretty stiff, right? So now, what I'm gonna do is put an 80 grit belt on. The other thing that I need to mention is when you're doing these, the tip area gets super hot really fast, okay? So when you get to that area, slow down, run a fresh belt. Don't use an old beat up belt, run all fresh belts. And I'm gonna slow it down, I think, to around like 75% power or something like that. When I do this cut, I'm using a 36 grit, full power. And you just get to the tip, and you just gotta go really slow and carefully on that tip so you don't burn it up and you don't burn your fingers, because you're kind of putting pressure on it with your finger. And as soon as it feels hot, pull it off, dunk it, get it cooled back off so you're not messing up that temper. So anyways, now I'm still not gonna be bringing this up to full flat, okay? I'm gonna bring this right here up a little higher with the 80 grit and taper it in a little more, and start working that flex and getting it to where I'm happy with the flex with the 80 grit. All right, so let me do that grind, and then I'll show you guys where it's at then. From there, I'm gonna work to 120 grit and then a 220 grit, and basically that 120 grit, you're refining those scratches a little bit. You're not removing a ton of material. The 220, you're really smoothing everything out, and then I finish with a Scotch-Brite belt to just even everything out, and it makes it to where you've got an off the grinder finish that's really nice. It's gonna hold up good, and you don't have to do any hand sanding. So let me show you guys real quick after 80 grit, and I'll just check back in and explain a little more once I get there, show you the flex. Okay, now 80's done. Let me see if you can see this or not. You can see just here at the top, right here, it's not all the way flat right there, okay? That's key. And this is where I actually mess up all the time on it and take it a little too far, and then there's a little groove in the top of the blade right there when it goes to taper down, which it's not the end of the world. It's just one of those little things if you want to be picky. So anyways, let's see. Maybe from there, I'm almost to where I want it. It's really hard to show in the video, but basically it's full thickness right here. Okay, it's all the way thick. And then as it comes down, it gradually gets thinner on the spine, okay? And basically, the more flex you want, take off more on the top. And I'm not gonna go into like a grinding lecture or anything, but what you're doing is you start and you almost are twisting up as you go down to hit that top a little bit, put a little more top pressure on your grind. And then, I mean, I grind weird. I grind right-handed this way and this way. It's just how I've kind of taught myself to do it. I know it's not the right way to do it, but that's how I do it, and I get okay results with it. So you don't have to say anything about that. But all you're doing is twisting your pressure as you get to the top, and where you want that is towards the center, and then slowly taper out. Careful not to burn your tip up, okay? So this is where I'm at right now. You can see it's pretty good. You know, like I said, you can go as far as you want with it. This is about how I like it, especially because I still have to refine it with a 122 or a 120 and then a 220 and then that Scotch-Brite belt. So it will get a little more flexible than this. but this is about where I want it. So anyways, I'm going to run through those. I don't think there's any more tips or anything as far as that goes. Those belts are pretty self-explanatory. You're just refining those scratches and bringing it to whatever finish you want. Like I said, I do a Scotch-Brite finish on pretty much all these, but you can take it to 220, do your hand sanding, and like when I do them in Damascus, I take them to 400 and then go to hand sanding on them. So that's all up to you and how you want to do it. But I thought I'd at least explain a little bit about how I create the flex I want with a knife and still have it be, like I said, these are 61 Rockwell hardness, which is really hard. And that's what I like about them, is they hold just an incredible edge. But with the proper grinding, they still get good and flexible, even though they're really hard. So, all right, I'll probably check back in and show the finished product when it's all done, unless I think of some other tip or something along the way. Well, it went okay. It didn't break. Nothing weird happened. I didn't mess it up. I got the flex pretty much where I want it. You can see that transition is nice and clean. When I do this, I do, well, it would be horizontal satin finish this way on the flats, and then they're vertical there, so there's a nice clean transition point right there. And then if you can see, the taper is man, it's so hard to show. But the key is to try to do an even taper from here to here. It's not, it takes some practice. This one is pretty close to how I want it. But yeah, so that's it. That's with that Scotch-Brite finish. It's ready to go, ready for handles. You can see we've got really good flex. Really nice flex, nice and straight, and everything's good to go. So I'll get some handles on this one. They're actually getting shipped to me right now, so it'll be a couple days, but wanted to get the grind done, and I thought this would be an okay video just because I have had quite a few people ask me just a couple little things about these fillet knives. And yeah, so I think I covered everything. If not, just drop a comment if you have any questions. These are, like I said, these are stainless, and I've done hundreds of carbon steel ones. Well, I used 15N20 for a long time, and they worked really good. Good flex, good edge, but I guess at the end of the day, if you guys are following this, you're probably following my Instagram. You guys know I'm like a huge fisherman. I fish all the time, and for me, you know, having a carbon steel fillet knife, you get the benefits of a good edge, but to have to constantly worry about it rusting is just kind of a little bit silly, especially because I've got these figured out to where they hold a really, really good edge, every bit as good as those carbon ones. And you don't have to worry about them rusting. So that's why I switched to these. A little more expensive, but at the end of the day, I'm a lot happier selling these and more comfortable, you know, sending them all over the world and knowing that they're going to last and work really well. So yeah, anyways, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Like I said, drop a comment, even if you have some ideas for future videos, something you're curious about. I'm going to plan on doing a couple like full build videos, I think. I just don't have time to do them right now, so I'm just doing little snippet tip videos first, and we'll see how it goes. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching.